It is 93 days to election 2024. There are so many things happening in the country, from the legislature, the executive, the judiciary. But from wherever you're listening to me from, whether on your TV set, in your home, or through your mobile devices, my name is Sweetie Abochi, and this is the AM show on Joy News. Now, this morning, in our lineup, we'll start by serving you the AM news, and then we'll get into our news review segment. Dr. Kwame Asante, the head for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, will be joining us to review the various newspapers and the stories in there that resonate with you and I. Muftan Abil Abdullahi will then bring you AM Sports, and then we get into our big stories. This morning, we have an exclusive interview with the former Director General of National Council for Curriculum Assessment, NACA, and the chairman for the NPP Manifesto Committee on Education, Member of Parliament for Efia Kwesimintim, and now the Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, none other than Dr. Prince Armah. He joins us to talk about a wide range of issues. You don't want to miss that interview with me later on in the show. Also, as the NDC raises red flags on the integrity of the voter register, the provisional voter register, with a call on an external audit, we will engage some minority parties on what they make of the NDC's position, because they're also taking a stand on the matter. And later on, you get to have your say. But in the meantime, you can follow the conversations and share your thoughts with us on social media. Across all platforms, we are Joy News on TV, and use the hashtag AM Show. My name is Sweetie Abochi, like I said earlier, and it will be my absolute pleasure to guide you through this package, the AM Show this morning. It's a 4-hour package, so you want to stay with us for that. Let's start with the AM News. Many thanks for your time here. This is the AM News. Now, civil society organizations have opposed the approval of Ghana's lithium and bauxite mining lease in its current state. Government in 2018 entered into an agreement with mining company Barari DV Ghana Limited to undertake exploration and mining of lithium in Awea. But the opposition NDC and civil society organizations have questioned the terms of the agreement, calling on government to review the lease before approval. The delay in approval has forced chiefs of the area to petition Parliament to fast-track the agreement to allow the mining to commence. Parliament's Lands and Forestry Committee met with chiefs and CSOs over their concerns on the agreement. But former Majority Leader and MP for Suame, Oseiche Mensah Bonsu, however, warns any further delay in mining the mineral could lead to the loss of its value on the market.
Oya and Enyinehini lithium and bauxite mining leases have met stiff rejection from the minority and civil society organizations, causing a delay in parliamentary approval. Following a petition from the chiefs of the area, the Lands and Forestry Committee of Parliament invited the opposing groups to hear their concerns. The IEA, Imani, and 2 other CSOs who appeared before the committee insisted that the terms of the deal must be enhanced.
We see the lease, the lithium lease, as the concession, royalty, a tax type of lease. And we do not think that that type of lease is in the interest of the country.
You do processing, you're able to capture at least about 30% of the battery technology. And so that is why we are pushing that the focus of the agreement should really look at the beneficiation, that is the local value addition, and not the raw spodumene that will be mined.
Former Majority Leader and MP for Suame, Oseiche Mensah Bonsu, however, warns any further delay could lead to loss of value of the mineral on the market.
We should not think that it's an eternal resource. What is happening now? Pretty soon, if we're not careful, it may fall in the category of stranded assets. That is not to say that we should not approach it with some degree of caution.
The chiefs are insisting that Parliament approve the deal now to bring development to the people.
Mr. Chair, honorable members, Madaroma, woman new speaker, na bauxite lease no.
Total of about 500 structures, which are supposed to be completed, are halted.
Chairman of the committee, Francis Menu Adabo, promises to work on the report and forward to Parliament for action.
The report will be generated, it will be sent to plenary, and then the Speaker will decide. So if the minority, I'm not too sure whether all the minority will say no. Until we get there, I will know.
The minority, on the other hand, have boycotted the sitting to register their disagreement. James Abeji, Parliament House, Accra.
NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has pledged to resource the police service to help fight crime in Ghana. According to the Vice President, plans have already been initiated to procure the logistics to ensure every street in Ghana has a CCTV to enable the police track every activity that happens on every corner of the country. Now, speaking at the commissioning of the Central East Police Headquarters in Kaswa, Dr. Bawumia said this will help in reducing the rate of crime in Ghana.
What I would like to see going down next year is to begin to support the police with CCTV cameras and across every street in every region and every district, so that we can see when we sit down every movement in every street, in every region, in every district capital in this country. And so we are bringing in 50,000 CCTV cameras that we are going to install in every region and every district. And that will allow the police to see what is going on every street, so that we can catch the criminals very quickly. So Ghana will be very different by the grace of God. And so we are asking for your support for us to do this.
He says the NPP government under Nana Akufo-Addo has done more for the Ghana Police Service than any other government has ever done.
And this building will contribute to the control and the enforcement of law in Ewutu Senya East. And I believe that we will provide the necessary resources to the police here to do their work. From our point of view, as a government, we have invested more in the police than any other government in the Fourth Republic. We've bought more vehicles, more uniforms, even 3 helicopters for the police for the first time in history. We've increased the size of the police force by about 40%, and we want to do more.
Moving on, the Greater Accra Regional Minister Titus Glover is blaming the owners of the China House building at Zongo Lane for the fire that ravaged the structure for 3 days. According to him, initial investigations suggest negligence by the owners. He said the warehouse was converted into a residential apartment with flammable materials stored on site. Emmanuel Jivenu has more in the following report.
These children are taking advantage of the situation, selling face masks to traders and commuters as the fire continues to emit thick smoke. It's been 3 days and firefighters are still battling the flames that have engulfed this building. The area has been cordoned from the public, with some shop owners salvaging whatever they can from their stores amidst the distraction. Greater Accra Regional Security Council, led by the Regional Minister Titus Glover, visited the site Tuesday afternoon for first-hand briefing on the inferno.
Some precautionary measures should have been taken. You cannot keep these highly inflammable materials, but you have the warehouse in the same building, you have your accommodation in the same building, and you have your shops in the same building. So clearly you could see that there is a challenge somewhere. like this. In fact, it's serving also as a warehouse. You need to have a separate place to have these warehouses that you can go and cut them and bring them to the market.
According to him, the integrity of the building has been compromised, hence the need to demolish it for safety reasons.
And structurally, you can see that this building, most of them will have to pull down, because when you look at the integrity of it from hindsight, it's very, very weak.
Director of Operations for the Ghana National Fire Service, Assistant Chief Fire Officer 2, Joseph Kofi Forsen, says the efforts are focused on preventing the fire from spreading to adjacent buildings, but he is unsure when the fire will be completely extinguished.
What we are doing is let's do the effective cooling. Let's give ourselves maybe by today, tomorrow. We see that we have been able to douse the fire. We look at the intensity of the building, the structural integrity of the building. Then we can commit men inside. If, I'm saying if, we can commit men from the peripheries. We enter and we see, then we can totally come out and say that fire has been extinguished.
The government is awaiting the results of a full investigation before taking further action. But for now, the focus remains on controlling the fire and ensuring public safety. Emmanuel Jivenu for Joy News.
Academic work at Okomdom MA Junior High School in the Wioso municipality of the Western North region is under threat due to the deteriorating condition of the school's over 20-year-old building. Once a source of pride for the Okomdom community and the wider Wioso municipality, the school is now struggling to maintain its standard of academic excellence. Without urgent intervention to address the building's condition, the school may cease to function in the coming years. Inathalia Kwansa reports.
20 years ago, Okomdom MA JHS was the pride of the Wioso community, a double-stream school with a reputation for academic excellence. It drew students from all corners of the region. Edith Nkatia, a former student, now a teacher, recalls a time when the school was filled with eager students and dedicated teachers.
Okomdom used to be one of the populated schools in Wioso. In fact, it was a privilege to be in this school because of the academic performance and all that. When I was here, it was a double-stream school. Yeah, that's A and B. But as time went on, the building was not good, and the teachers had to move those in the A block to the B block, making the school now a single stream. You can see the state of the building is very bad, and it's not safe for the kids to be inside. Due to that, the school is now a single stream, and the population too is reducing. Okomdom is one of the greatest schools in this community, and it has really produced prominent people here. And we will not wish for the school to just collapse, because without a feeding school, in about 10 years to come, I'm not sure this school will be in existence.
The challenges faced by Okomdom MAJHS go beyond its physical deterioration. The absence of a primary school means that the JHS struggles to maintain its enrollments, accepting students from other schools who often arrive with low academic performance.
Any student from any school who is poor in academics, we just admit the person here because we want enrollment. In fact, if you don't use that way, the school will be closed down. So because of that, teachers here have been suffering. In fact, me myself teaching mathematics. In fact, I'm suffering as a teacher. Now, looking at the performance of the students, assessing them when they write their BEC, now it has dropped drastically. We will not even find ourselves placing in that category first up to 7th. We are not there. We are no more. But at first, Okomdom was at that height.
The lack of basic amenities like a proper canteen, a functioning toilets, only adds to the school's woes.
The environment is too poor for us to live in it. And sometimes too, we feel like we are abandoned by the government.
The government have been focusing on much capital city like Accra and Kumasi because the government has been furnishing them with more laptops and computers, but they are not much focused at this place.
Despite the overwhelming challenges, there is a spark of hope. Idiots and other former students have begun rallying support, organizing small-scale renovation and seeking help from the community. But these efforts, while admirable, are not enough to save the school.
It's only this part that has been renovated about 2 years ago. And it was even done by PTA and the teachers. We came together to do that renovation. So the government hasn't done any renovation here. And I learned Master has been going to the district assembly, writing to them, seeking for help, but there hasn't been any help.
The dedication of its teachers and former students is commendable, but they cannot do it alone. The school needs help, and it needs it now.
It's very bitter because of late the school was double stream, A and B, and now currently it has turned to one stream, which is too bad. The school that has A and B, now it has been only one. What's happened? All this goes about the state of the school. It's because of the state of the school. If you look at the paint that it has been painted currently, it was the performance of the school itself. Whilst we have even some of our authorities are former students from this school. I can mention Honorable Kwabre Mita Akando. He completed here. He completed from this Okundom school. And I hope the authorities of the school has called upon their help, but still no one is responding to their call. So we feel pain. We feel pain. We need a support. We need a support for the school, for its development and growth. So if the authorities are listening to, please, we are calling, all students are calling upon, especially our big, let me say the big men, those they competed here and they are now in a high position in the country. Please, I, Kwesi Isaac, former student, calling upon all those people to come and help the school.
Walls of Okundom MHHs continue to crumble. For Joy News, in Athalia Kwanza, Western North Region.
From Okundom in the West North region, let's talk about the dry spell. These delayed rains in 8 food-growing regions of Ghana have resulted in government's desperate measures to guard against food insecurity. But agriculture economist Dr. Robert Aidu says the current impact of dry spell on food security is only a symptom of a long neglect of irrigation by the country. From Kumasi, Nanaya Ojima brings you today's edition of Climate Focus.
Ghana's agriculture is mainly rain-fed. Most parts of the country have 2 planting seasons dependent on the rainfall pattern. The major cropping season is between June and August, while September to October is the minor. Most farmers were expecting their crops to be ready for harvesting in August. Unfortunately, most crops have failed to fruit due to prolonged dry spell, with farmers losing their investment. Dr. Shalom Adodanso, a senior research scientist with Ghana's Forestry Research Institute, explains the vulnerability of farmers to weather changes and climate variability.
Temperature is increasing, rainfall has become erratic. But now you have a situation where sometimes you have a very intense rainfall, but within a short time, then it can also be accompanied by dry spell durations. So it is very clear. The main issue is, how do you now adapt?
Agabuga in the Pro East district of the Bono region is among the worst affected communities by the dry spell in the country. Most people here are farmers who have heavily relied on agriculture for their livelihoods. Campena Vetra, who is in his early 30s, made a decision to expand his maize farm from 3 to 5 acres for this planting season. With the heavy investment on labor, seedlings and chemicals, he was expecting a bumper harvest, but the young farmer is witnessing the opposite.
We were expecting rains in June and July, but it never came. The maize should be fruiting by now, but it is not. The weather does not support farming. It may lead to shortage of food on the market.
Walking through the farm, the soil is dried up. Most of the maize plants here are turning brown from the green leafy ones normally noticed with healthy plants. The corn ears which house the cobs are dried, affecting the development of the kernel. Jacob Naja weeds through his yam farm as he hopes for the rains. The delay in rains have prolonged the readiness of the tuber for harvesting, but the farmer continues to be expectant. With good rains, the tuber could be ready for market in the next few weeks.
We farm maize and granules as well. They are all not doing well now. This year, we will need the government support to cater for our families. We pray they have pity on us.
To many farmers, poor irrigation continues to be the bane of productivity, with no deliberate effort by successive governments to deal with the situation. The government's One Village, One Dam program, which was aimed at ensuring continuous supply of water for irrigation, failed to help mitigate the dry spell period. Agric Minister Brian Echampong attributes the ongoing dry spell to climate change, stressing the core issue is not irrigation but the shifting weather patterns. Agriculture economist Professor Robert Edu, however, explains poor implementation of the irrigation program has negatively affected efficiency.
The idea was fantastic, because if those dams were working, then at least those in those communities will have access to water, which they can use to irrigate. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be across so many villages, and it was a bit overwhelming. I think that going forward, if government can focus, then within, let's say, a district, if you can even have just 4 places where you can have irrigation scheme that is working, it will help.
Dr. Ado Danson says farmers would also need to diversify their livelihood investments and reduce their exposure to climate risk.
Their imprint on climate change is all reduced, so that the practices that they are doing does not lead to increase in the release of greenhouse gases. So, for instance, using different varieties of crop is very important. Cropping at different times, so like crop rotation. These things that in the past our farmers, they know already, but the only thing is that we back it with the science. Then incorporating trees into their farming system, especially cocoa, is very, very important. So, sometimes they're not really fixing species. For us as research institutions, if you go to Crop Research Institute, under the Council for Science and Industrial Research, these are some of the things that you are looking at. Savannah Agricultural Research Institute also, looking at some of the varieties that are tolerant to drought, or now, for me, even to flooding conditions, so they can stay in water and still probably survive.
Few months to the 2024 general elections, the 2 leading political parties who have played active roles in governance are proposing solutions in their manifestos. For Joy News, Nanaya Ochima, Bono East.
Let's do some business stories now. Director General of the State Interest and Governance Authority, John Boydu, has admitted that certain activities of government can be blamed for the huge losses recorded in the 2022 financial reports of some state-owned firms. According to him, the implementation of the domestic debt exchange program has caused huge losses for firms in the financial sector. John Boydu spoke to Joy Business during an engagement on the state ownership report in Accra. Here's more.
According to the State Interest and Governance Authority, SIGA, the performance of the state-owned enterprises have contributed about 27% of the country's domestic growth product, an increase of more than 50% from the previous performance. The banking and financial sector recorded huge losses due to the implementation of domestic debt exchange program, which many of the banks were involved. According to Director General John Boydu, most of the losses are within reasonable course, as some provide social services to support the economy.
We can see clearly the impact of some government activities and government decisions impacting negatively on some of the entities, particularly in 2022. You realize as a result of the DDEP, a lot of the entities, particularly those in the financial sector, made huge losses. Clearly, you can see that most of them are recovering, And we want to continue to insist that timely and real-time reporting of our activities of our entities are the way to go.
About 147 entities across the country were covered in this year's State of Ownership report, recording the highest number of coverage since the inception of the report.
Total profits of commercial banks for the first 6 months of this year witnessed some significant increase. New Bank of Ghana data puts the amount at 8.1 billion Ghana cedis and in June this year. There's more in the following report.
The Bank of Ghana data, however, showed the rate of increase compared to last year slowed. According to the Bank of Ghana, this was due to lower increases in interest income and other income lines in 2024 relative to the same period in 2023. Generally, all income lines increased but at a lower growth rate in June 2024 relative to the same period last year. Interest income increased to 18 billion Ghana cedis, representing a growth of 19.1% relative to 44.3% in June 2023. When we look at the profit after tax, it increased significantly to 5.4 billion in June 2024. The report by the Bank of Ghana showed that, despite the challenging economic environment, the banking sector was not doing that bad if one restricts itself just to the numbers.
Let's go for our currency markets update now. And that brings us to the end of the AM News Bulletin. You want to stay for the news review segment. Dr. Kwame Asasante joins us. He's the head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. In a bit, we'll be back on your screens. Let's review the newspapers and discuss the stories making headlines that resonate with you and I. My guest this morning is Dr. Kwame Asasante, the head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Sweetie. And good morning to our viewers and listeners as well.
Right. Doc, my little sister told me that you're the reason she enjoys politics. She's at UG. She's studying political science. And she had a lot of nice things to say about you. So I was just looking forward to telling you this morning.
I am humbled.
Okay. So let's get into your thoughts this morning for the next 2 minutes.
Yes, I want to look at the water crisis in Cape Coast, Elimina and its surroundings. And then the general effects of galamsey on this problem. If you look at what we are hearing, that this crisis is attributed to the activities of galamsey, then it tells us that we are nothing but a failed society. And I'll start with the government. I am surprised that we have a government, that we have given the government all the powers that it needs to run its office, and the government doesn't care a hoot about what happens. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because you are given power with a hope that you govern on our behalf. You protect us. You support us. But here you are, as if there is no government in this country. People are mining illegally, and there's a destruction of the water bodies, and the government doesn't care a hoot about it. Look at, even to the extent that if you look at reports, foreigners are involved and all that. I ask myself whether this country has been invaded. I mean, I don't get it, because we have security officials who, when given opportunity, they will act. You send the soldiers there and then take your hands off them and let them do professional job. You clap for them. The police, right? As if they are not there. You ask yourself, what is happening? DCA, MCAs, even owners of the land, the chiefs, are they quiet? And this is going on.
And Doc, you know, the worst part of it is that our politicians are playing a blame game. You listened to them in Parliament, I think yesterday, and they're saying that, you know, the NDC destroyed more water bodies than us. These guys did more than we did. And I'm wondering, so where does Ghana stand in the midst of this blame game that they're playing with the country?
In fact, I listened to another prayer, and it's a very sorry statement he made.
Yeah.
That he is so proud to say that, yes, there is pollution, we did lesser than the other party.
Yeah.
It's a very shameful statement. Very, very. That a problem like this, you want to boldly say that we did, and we did lesser.
Yeah.
I wanted him to say something different, that, look, we are sorry, we'll put our acts together and then work and, you know, reverse this situation. But you are so proud that you have done little. And who measures what you have done? The effect is what we see at the renal department. The effect is what we see at what the head of Atomic Energy Commission is saying, that it's cancer that takes a long time. Today, you consume something which is infected, and you get, you know, the effect in 10 years' time. This should occupy the attention of the MP and the government and the people of this country. We think that money is everything. Let me go for money. You go for money, there is no society called Ghana. Where will you live?
Well.
You will run away. Look at this big state. If everybody is gone or everybody is sick, are you sure you can be here? Because nobody will attend to you.
Yeah.
You will not be able to get anything. So please, let us be responsible. Let us make sure that we stand up against people who do this, because water is life.
Yes.
And now that water is being threatened, look, to the extent that now the capacity of Ghana Water Company has been reduced from 70% to 40%.
Yes.
And they are saying that if the situation doesn't change, we'll hit 20 and 0 ultimately. Look, we are in very difficult times. And this is a time that we should stop playing ostrich and then call people out and make sure that anybody who is involved in this is apprehended and handed over to the police.
Right.
And that those politicians who want to cash in on this, we call them out and vote against them, so that we know that we are doing a serious work. Otherwise, look, a day will come, this problem will engulf all of us, and we will not be anywhere on the surface of this country. It's unfortunate.
Thank you so much, Doc, for those thoughts. It's something to think about. A day will come where we will be nowhere to be found. Right. But let's get into the newspapers. The Daily Graphic has stories. CSOs and Occupy Ghana demand enactment of the COPO bill. That is the Conduct of Public Officers Bill. Parliament's recall drains state coffers, Speaker says. NHIA releases 800 million Ghana cedis to healthcare providers, and 487 arrested over suspected Ponzi scheme. Let's start from Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, has expressed concern over the abuse of the invocation of Article 112, Clause 3 within a session of the current Parliament. He said the frequent invocation of Article 112 to recall Parliament could disrupt the planned legislative annual budget and workflow of the House, drain national resources, and affect the overall productivity of Parliament. He therefore urged the members of the House to at the appropriate time, deliberate on the matter to establish when it would be appropriate to resort to the use of Article 112. And we saw that emergency sitting yesterday, which they couldn't even conclude on the main businesses that they were called to do. And then the appearance of that attempt to lay that bill to merge Akosombo and Bui. Doc, what do you make of this story before we get into other stories?
Yes, because I am on the side of the speaker.
Right.
That experienced person speaking here, he has seen it all. That the way we are going about that provision, a time will come when you trigger it. I'm sure nobody will even respond to this. So it should not be abused. You use it sparingly to support the effort of Parliament when Parliament is in dire need of some services. So I think that the Speaker's call is nothing but a right call, and it has come in handy. We believe that the leaders of the House, particularly majority, will take it in their strides and make sure that they work according to the rules of the game. Politics is nothing but institutionalism. And institution is what? The rules of the game.
Right.
The rules of the game. Play by the rules, and we all be safe.
Domelovo is attributing the growing corruption to leadership problems. This is on page 10 of the Daily Graphic. A former Auditor General, Daniel Yao Domelovo, has expressed concern over the many alleged corruption cases in the country, describing the situation as a leadership problem. He said the rampant corruption-related cases, with its consequential financial losses and unequitable distribution of state resources, were a sign that leadership has failed the country over the years. Mr. Domelovo said this. He said it was the responsibility of the government to take care of its citizens. However, the government appears to be taking care of itself. Gomez, please mute. Doc, what do you make of Domelovo's assertion that corruption is a leadership problem?
Oh, it's nothing but the true or an apt description of the situation on the ground. We are in leadership crisis. Leadership what? We are in leadership difficulties, because if you have a leader worth his or her salt, you don't have what problems of this magnitude. Look at corruption. We've used all manner of means. We've used firing squad. We've used the courts. We've used the rules and all that. It's not working. But one problem which politicians don't want to face is that all the parties lack the political courage, the willpower to fight corruption. They are ready to fight and then deal with people who are outside their party, but their own. They can't call them to order. So this problem, I'm not a prophet of doom, but I know that the way we are going, we are not ready to fight it. So a time will come, we will see the effects. Politics is nothing but what? Reward and punishment. If you take a decision and you are not, you take it positively, it robs of you. If there is a decision that you need to do and then you abandon it, it affects you negatively. So let's give ourselves time. The reality will dawn on us and we'll set up as a society. I'm not praying for that, but the way we are going, that is where we are heading towards. It's unfortunate.
It looks like we've politicized everything in this country. Education, transportation, fight against galamsey, things that are affecting our livelihood. Everything is now a political football. One party plays it this way, the other plays it that way. And you keep, I mean, as a young person in this country, it sort of steals your hope and patriotism from this country, because you're wondering, at what point do we put the country first? You know, if we were really determined to fight corruption, determined to fight galamsey, Doc, I think we wouldn't be where we are right now. But those are just
we are not ready to fight it, my dear sister. That is it. We are not.
Yeah.
Because we always cashing on things that we do and do wrongly, because that's where we get a benefit. The corruption, one of the reasons why we don't want to fight is that we benefit from corruption. The positive aspect of corruption. Yes, because why would you give contracts and then you yourself will take a certain percentage? Are you expecting quality of work done? No. We will do the wrong things so that we make ourselves better. But I am cautioning everybody, a day will come, the way we are going, we will not have the Ghana we want to have. And we ourselves will not exist. So it comes back to what? Square 9. empty. It's an empty exercise. You won't get anything.
Let me do two quick stories in the Daily Graphic and we'll move from here. NHIA releases 800 million to healthcare providers. CSOs Occupy Ghana demand enactment of COPO bill. The coalition of civil society organizations and Occupy Ghana have expressed disappointment over cabinet's reluctance to approve the 2022 Conduct of Public Officers Bill, that is COPO, for enactment. In a joint statement, the coalition said its reaction followed repeated assurances by the President and Attorney General that the bill would be passed into law. And, quote, since 1993, successive governments in Ghana have unconstitutionally extended the period for public officials to declare their assets rather than fulfilling the constitutional requirement to declare the assets before assuming office. Officials have been allowed to, for up to 3 months after the appointment to do so. And this extension has led to a troubling trend where many public officials either never declare their assets or make presumptive declarations of assets they anticipate acquiring during their tenure, and it brings us back to corruption. But let me quickly add this story before I come to you, Doc. Father demands justice in O'Reilly Senior High School stabbing case. A very bizarre and sad story. The father of a final year student of O'Reilly Senior High School is seeking justice for his son who was stabbed and later pronounced dead at Lekma Hospital in Accra. Edward Bokete-Saki, a visual arts student at the school, is reported to have engaged in a fight with one of his mates over an argument on the school's premises on last Monday. In the company of family and friends, Enoch Saki stormed the school's premises yesterday to demand justice for his son. And that viral video we saw on social media of the victim in an unconscious posture, I cannot take it out of my mind. And apparently the argument is about whose father is richer than the other. This is where were the teachers? Where were the authorities? Doc, for your reflection.
It's very, very painful story that will lose people this way. Even if you lose one person, it's bad enough. We always want to protect. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. We need to get back to the basis. Socialization process, we need to start from homes, inculcating values that will transform people to make them the best for society. We follow them up to the school, to public places and all that. And then we keep on, making sure that they, incorporate it into their lives and all that. They internalize them. That's the way to go. But I think the police will obviously go in and then make sure that there is justice. So I'll keep my fingers crossed and then wait for the police to do their work, and let's see. It's very, very unfortunate. Very painful exercise. Very, very painful exercise.
Right.
You look at the Conduct of Public Officers Bill.
Yeah.
Right. One annoying thing about asset declaration is the asset declaration law. I don't know why it continues to exist in our books, where you go and deposit something and it's in an envelope and nobody sees it, and you give it to the Auditor General or whoever.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to us. Are we a serious people? That the thing you are sending there, you yourself, there is no way that you know the content, and nobody will know unless one day, somewhere, somewhat.
Meanwhile, it's supposed to be a declaration.
Oh, no, we are not serious, because we know the right things to do. There are best examples all over that we can borrow from. We continue to have it and still continue to sit in our books and we say that I said declare. I don't want to hear, I don't want to know about. My sister, let's move. Let's move.
Okay, Doc, let's move on. The Ghanaian publisher, Penyo Markin, warns against excessive partisan politics. NHIA releases 400 million. So is it 400 million or 800 million? The Daily Graphic is reporting 800 million released to healthcare providers. Meanwhile, the Ghanaian publisher is reporting 400 million Ghana cedis released to healthcare providers. I want to find out what the actual figure is later on, and we'll bring you those details. But let's get into some other stories. NDC backs Agbesi Jakpasu for GBA president. Lands Minister Akufo-Addo, Minister Lord Akufo-Addo's exceptional education record in Eastern Region. This is still the Ghanaian publisher. Let's get into it and look at that story on page 8 about the NDC backing Agbesi Jakpasu for GBA president. And the story reads, The National Democratic Congress has moved to carry out its threats of politicizing Ghana's judiciary on partisan lines. Okay. I think this story is a bit... Okay, let me read it. Let me read a bit of it. As at its 2024 high-level conference held in Ho Volta region over the weekend, the NDC Lawyers Association resolved to rally its forces behind Agbesi Jakwasu, the lawyer for Sedinam Tamaklu, as the party's chosen candidate for the upcoming national presidency of the GB. Should we be politicizing, elections in the GBA? Doc, I'll skip this story, but I'll come to you for reflections on whether the NDC and NPP should be, backing candidates who want to be, hold positions in the Ghana Bar Association. I don't know what you make of it. Speaker of Parliament describes emergency sitting as act in bad faith. We just touched on that. Minority calls on government to resolve Kolebu maintenance issues. And Asantehene intervenes in the KNUST VC reappointment impasse. Asantehene Otumfuo II has intervened in the impasse surrounding the reappointment of Professor Rita Akosua-Dixon as the Vice-Chancellor of the Kwame Nkrumah University Science and Technology. The intervention of Asantehene, who is also the Chancellor of the university, has resulted in the withdrawal of legal action by two plaintiffs against the Governing Council of the university and Prof. Mrs. Dixon. And that was at a meeting convened at the Mesha Palace in Kumasi on Friday. Doc, quick reflections on any of these stories?
Yeah, I think I will look at the opinion marking and partisan politics.
Right.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong people engage in partisan politics. Politics is a beautiful thing, provided we do it and do it in a manner that will not undermine all of us our common interest. That's it. So for me, if there is politics everywhere, I'm fine with that. But we should be measured and tempered and make sure that the national interest, the interest of our people is what we are fighting for. Any other interest is just an aberration for which it's not legitimate for me to tap on. So that's it. I salute Asantehene for his, leadership qualities that we are seeing. This issue, very threatening the university, he has dealt with it. And that is what we call a leader. A leader is somebody who leads by example and who makes sure that he settles all disputes and makes sure that people live in harmony and create the enabling environment for business to continue. And so for me, I am happy. My prayer is that we learn from these examples, we emulate and make it part and parcel of what we do, so that at the end of the day, we'll support our people and we deliver based on our promise. That's it.
The story about NDC backing, I've seen it here again, so I just want to stay on it a bit. And it reads on the front page of the custodian paper that NDC plots GBA takeover, backs Agbesi Jakwasu for president. And details of the story allege that there's a higher plan that was taken at a high-level conference organized by NDC Lawyers Association held in the Volta region, and is part of their plan or plot to carry out their threat of politicizing Ghana's judiciary on partisan lines. And so the decision, according to information gathered, was to firm up or to back Agbesi Jakwasu to win the elections and become GBA president so that the NDC can get a foot in and start their plan to take over the GBA. Doc, I want to know what you think about this.
I have, as a journalist, I have a problem with the story.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks more of a, a sensational story and all that. What is the point in NDC going there to support a candidate to win the election? What would the GBA president do in terms of the workings of the judiciary? Is he going to determine cases for the Chief Justice to put before judges in the courts? I don't get it. Is he going to control the Judicial Council, who he is a member of, and he is not the head? It's the Chief Justice who is a member of. So when you look at all these, from a logical standpoint, I don't get it.
Yeah. And I mean, it looks like our politicians are, for want of a better word, getting desperate by day as election, I mean, December is getting closer. So everything that, or every angle that each party can work to make the other person look bad or make themselves look good, they want to use it. And this story really this morning.
And what will Agbesi do? I mean, to change the course of politics in this country? What would he do? I mean, his vote is only one. It's unfortunate. I mean, he can't do much. So I don't think as a political party, they waste their time on this. And you can have some people who share his Agbesi's ideas, dreams, and aspirations. They want to rally behind the person. There's nothing wrong with that. But if people say that it's a political party agenda to get that guy elected, to do what?
Yeah.
To do what? I mean.
Okay. Let's do some other stories. The Daily Searchlight now. Ghana Airports Company yet to collect 33.8 million debt. In spite of debt, NPP commits Ghana to more expenses. On climate change, blameless Africa faces high burden and adaptation costs. Let's start from there. And that story is on page 9 because we are feeling the impact of climate change. I'll read just a bit of that. So Africa bears an increasingly heavy burden from climate change and disproportionately high cost for essential climate adaptation, according to a new report from the World Meteorological Organization. On average, African countries are losing 2 to 5% of gross domestic product, and many are diverting up to 9% of their budgets responding to climate extremes. In sub-Saharan Africa, the cost of adaptation is estimated to be between $30 to $50 billion annually over the next decade, or 2 to 3% of the region's gross domestic product, says the WMO State of the Climate in Africa 2023 report. I just wanted, but it's a long story. You can get a copy of the paper and read yourself. This is to our audience. But I'm just saying that we as an institution here at Multimedia, we're also doing our bit, shining light on the effects of climate change. But we as citizens, Doc, do you think we are aware enough or conscious in our activities of how climate change is impacting us and how we can mitigate in our day-to-day activities the effect or contributing to the effect of it?
Yeah, there are a number of people who understand what is happening and they are aware of its effects and all that. Of course, there are a large majority who have no idea about what really caused climate change and its effects and the rest of them. So we need to do more advocacy and bring all the two groups together so that we move on the same path and deal with this problem head on. Certain activities that we undertake that undermine the environment, that cause the depletion of the ozone layer and the effects on humanity, we must shy away from this. This must be drummed to the ears of everybody so that whatever we do, we are conscious of the environment, and that is the way to go. As soon as we destroy the ecosystem, it's over. You don't need to wait for your death. It will come naturally to you. So we must be very careful. And you see, if you look at the resources we pump in to maintain the environment, and then we have people who are in every day to make sure that they destroy the very environment that we are spending resources on, then we know that we are in difficult waters. We need to do more in the area of advocacy, in the area of laws enforcement, and then in the area of socialization, so that we inculcate these important values in people that don't destroy the environment. Every day we talk about the environment, a little one, then you come in. And then I ask myself, have we seen charcoal being, carried from rural areas to the urban areas? That is the environment you are destroying, charcoal. Loaded. And then we see, anytime I say, hey, this is the future of Ghana forest.
It's interesting that we don't pay attention to that. That's the destruction that we're talking about. Charcoal.
Yes, charcoal. Once you see charcoal, tell yourself 1 tree or 2 gone. A day will come, we'll not have any tree. And that is where the reality will dawn on us. I don't want us to get there because we cannot survive there.
The last paper I'll do this morning, the Accra Times, on the front page, fallout from the Speaker's seminar lecture. Kwesi Ening cries out ahead of election 2024. Don't abuse Article 112, Clause 3. That is according to the Speaker. We delved into that already. Imported salt kills local production. Stakeholders petition government. I'll get into that. Minority exposes the Kufuor over decision to deploy military to border towns. Build trust for peaceful 2024 elections. Speaker Bagbin urges Ghanaians. Let's start from the story of imported salt that kills local production. It's on page 2 of the Accra Times. The Salt Producers Association of Ghana has formally petitioned the Ghana International Trade Commission for intervention to restore fair competition within the salt market. The association is calling for measures to safeguard the livelihoods of those dependent on the salt industry and contribute to the nation's economic well-being. We are importing salt in 2024. There's some Electrochem, I think, is granting mining concessions to people in Ada and its environs to mine salt. I don't know the extent to which that is commercialized and packaged and, possibly exported, but I think I'm leaning towards this call for some intervention, because if we are importing salt in this country at this time of the world, it is going to kill the local product. Doc, I don't know what to say.
Ghana, your country, is importing cocoa. Tetequashis Ghana. We are importing cocoa in the name that there's a special, this thing, you are going to use it to produce. We have the premium, and we don't want to, the premium cannot be used for ABC, so we have to add what? The non-premium. That is unfortunate.
But this is salt, look.
Yes. Go to Ada areas. Look, there's a home of salt where we can develop them. This is what we call white gold. All right. Salt fetch a lot of resources for the people. They use it for so many things. Why can't we develop it and encourage our own industry to develop and create jobs for us and create means of livelihood for our people? What are we doing to ourselves? We are importing salt. I am not surprised, because we are importing cocoa in Tetequashis, Ghana. I'm not surprised. Very soon, you are going to import water from a country where there are many rivers. Many rivers. This is a paradox. There's a paradox that we have water and yet we are importing water. We have salt, yet we are importing salt. Is it not a paradox? It is.
Sometimes I wake up and I'm looking forward to something positive to read in the papers, some good story, something to uplift, me, or just encourage us that we're actually doing something in this country. And even if we are not going to see the benefits or the effects of it right now, at least for the generation to come, they'll come and benefit from something. But everything you read these days is just so sad. Let me do one last story and then I'll come to you, Doc. The minority spokesperson on Interior and Defense Committee in Parliament, Honorable James Algaga, has condemned in the strongest possible... I think this... we've talked about this a lot. He's concerned that the work of the military deployed to the borders to ensure that farmers are not exporting grain in our quest to store up enough grain in that looming food crisis. He's concerned that that's work that should have been left to immigration officers, and that if we are not careful, we'll spend more money deploying military personnel to the borders than we'd actually gain from that, from the trying to ban the export of grain into the country. Doc, what do you make of that?
Oh, I believe these forces are forces to support the activity of the state when they realize that things are getting out of hand. For soldiers, you bring them in when you realize that the other security agencies are not up to the task due to one or two reasons, so they come and support. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
Is that a job that should have been left to immigration? Patrolling the borders to ensure that,
the two groups can, cooperate and do a good job for the benefit of the society. But what I don't want is the politics of it, where you see that this is an important effort, but people will throw in the political jabs and just to dismantle everything. That is what I don't want. But we have seen time and again where security people cooperate, they work together for the common good of mankind. And if you study, crisis management, I teach at the Armed Forces Staff and Command College, and we teach crisis management. We incorporate, bring in all the security apparatus for important exercise. So for me, there's nothing wrong with that.
Doc, give me a wrap of your thoughts in 30 seconds and we go.
I believe that this country, there is none that exists for us. This is the only country we have. let us make sure that we protect this country and protect ourselves. Any attempt at doing something contrary to this will have our fingers bent. That is all.
That is Dr. Kwame Asasante, head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana and also a political analyst. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us for breakfast this morning.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Right, so sports is coming up next on the AM show. Don't go away. Stay for that. We'll be right back.
Let's bring you sports here on the AM show with me, Mufsao Nabila Abdullah. The Black Stars continued preparations for the African Cup of Nations 2025 qualifier against Angola at the Bawayara Sports Stadium on Tuesday evening. 22 players trained at the stadium getting ready for that important opening game against Angola, which will be happening tomorrow. Ole Jordan Ayew and Elisha Owusu currently are not available in camp as of the training time yesterday. They are expected to be part of the team later today. Otuado and his boys will fine-tune their preparations later today and also hold a press conference ahead of that game that will be happening tomorrow. Ghana wants to have a very perfect start to their campaign to the next edition of the African Cup of Nations, and that must start against Angola, who will also be holding their final training session at Bawayara Sports Stadium later today. After the game against Angola on Thursday, the Black Stars will fly to Morocco, where they will play Niger on Monday in Bekani. Let's stay on the Black Stars and what it has to do with sporting facilities. Well, captain of the senior national team, Thomas Partey, had complained about the bad nature of the pitch. A member of the NPP communications team or a community manifesto team that worked on their sports angle for this year's presidential and parliamentary elections, Akosha Menu, says that they've invested so much in sporting infrastructure and they will continue if they are given power to lead the country in the next 4 years.
The thinking has always been that the average Ghanaian would want Ghana to have a very competitive Premier League. Sadly, it hasn't been like that over time. And we look at the issue more of a human resource matter than structures. Now, consider yourself, myself or my sister Akosia. If we work at a place where our salaries are not coming in regularly, or we are in a workplace where in some Premier League clubs, salaries are not coming in at all. Now, if you don't look at the human resource, and then you look at other facets, of the organization, tendencies are that you would fail. So our pledge to Ghanaians is that we are going to prioritize the Premier League, especially its players. How are we going to do that? We are going to give them a monthly allowance to augment the salaries that they may be getting from their clubs. Why have we decided to do this? In the very instance that players are not paid regularly, tendencies are that they will use a lot of play time doing other things. So we are saying, okay, you can trust government always to give you what? Your monthly allowances. That will stay whilst you wait for the main salary that would come from your employer. Now remember also that there has been a mass rate of exodus of footballers in Ghana, most of them playing in areas like Togo, Kosovo, and Tanzania. Why that exodus, the player flight? It is because the playing conditions at home are not very good. So we have thought through and we are saying that we are making a commitment because this is a stimulus package that we want to push into the sporting sector.
If there's a plan to promote sports, is evidence with infrastructure, is evidence with growth, is evidence with opportunities that come into the country as far as sports is concerned. So the biggest evidence for me was the All African Games, that within a space of how many years, since we know what the delay was, especially for COVID-19, which extended the time frame a bit. We were still able to deliver on time the infrastructure needed to ensure a successful implementation of the program. So the question for me then is, evidence of doing what we said we'll do is there. Is it perfect? No. But he who promises and delivers at least a percentage of should be given the money to continue. And when you said, when you mentioned theirs, I was just making a quick calculation. As far as emergency refurbishment is concerned, that's already been done. Accra and Kumasi is getting the upgrade it deserves. Now Takoradi and Tamale are also under renovation. As we speak, youth resource centers in every region, not all complete, but the evidence is there. And when it's up and running, it fits into the sports secretariat, the Ghana Schools sports secretariat I mentioned. So you have the vision. What steps have you taken? And these are the steps that we have taken. Most of the things they are saying, yes, I believe that governments should run as a continuum and not necessarily end when one regime ends. But clearly, we've shown the capacity and the commitment to improving sports in general, not just football.
Now let's take you to Labone Senior High School, where Sota and Congo Basic Schools won Ghana's maiden edition of the Cushion Baseball Championship that took place in the school. My colleague, Abdul Karim Benin, has more in this report.
Thrilling final inning, Sota and Congo schools maintained their composure to secure victory with a score of 12-9. The four competing schools featured at least 2 females, showcasing baseball's commitment to inclusivity. Organizers awarded individual prizes for both male and female MVPs, as well as the most disciplined player, to encourage sportsmanship. Ernest Danso, president of the Ghana Baseball Federation, explains that the immediate plan is to establish a seniors league in Ghana.
It's called the first Ghana Coaching Championship that we held for the second cycle schools that came from 3 regions, actually, Greater Accra, Central and Eastern region. So it is a partnership between JBSF and then JAPS, and then the support of JICA and the Keio University from Japan that organizes first championship. It is a championship that is going to continue. It's going to be an annual championship. So this is the first of its kind that we did for these 2 days. So it is something that we want to take serious, and then we prepare towards it. So we are planning to come up with a league for the seniors in Ghana for baseball. So that is something that is going to come up very soon. But before then, we'll be playing a couple of games. Togo is going to come on the 7th. We'll play a game with Togo, and then we'll see how we play some regional games before the year ends.
The 2-day event wrapped up with a friendly game between Ghana's Rising Stars and Japan's Keio University, which Japan won 19-7. 14-year-old pitcher Maxwell was a promising addition to the Ghanaian squad, highlighting a bright future for baseball in Ghana. Shinya Tomonari is the president of the Japan Africa Baseball Foundation.
Yeah, I'm very happy because this Cushion tournament program is planned in 2011. So after 13 years, then it come true. So I'm very happy. Well, many players played with very much sportsmanship. That is what we want to do. It is called the Space Scholarship. It's the nurture young people through sportsmanship. So we call it Base Scholarship. Base Scholarship is now spread out in local area. That's what I found this time.
You know, Well, we are your election headquarters, and in the build-up to election 2024 in December, there are some issues that have come to light. The NDC have raised red flags on the integrity of the voters' register with a call for an external audit. We engaged some of the other parties. This week, we've already spoken to representatives of the two major political parties, that is the NDC and the NPP. And so we want to hear from the other parties. They don't want to be called minority parties, but the other parties. And on Zoom with me this morning is Michael Abusakara Foster, and he's co-convener for the Alliance for Movements for Change. We also have Remy Edmondson, the General Secretary of the Progressive People's Party. We want to pick your minds on how all of this sits with them. Let me start with Remy Edmondson, that's the General Secretary of the Progressive People's Party. Remy, good morning and welcome to the AM show.
Good morning, sweetie.
Great. So I'm sure you've been following the issues. The NDC's raised some concerns about the integrity and credibility of the provisional voters register. And as we speak, they've made some demands. I mean, they are meeting the Electoral Commission on 6th of September in a few days. But what do you make of the entire situation and the issues raised, especially concerning the voter register?
All right. Thank you, sweetie. Yes, I think initially when the exercise, the exhibition exercise started, it appeared to be like it was the NDC that was making a case for this. But over time, this appears to be quite a situation that goes beyond just the NDC and concerns all of us.
Remy, you have to speak up for me. Okay,
sure. So for example, yesterday we had an independent candidate also make similar observation yesterday. Yesterday, the political parties met with the EC and then all the other candidates. The EC wanted us to come in and then select our date for filing. And a few of the independent candidates made the similar observations that when they went around the country, they had instances where people who were, signing their forms told them that, the voter ID polling station code, when they went to check during the execution exercise, their votes had been transferred to another polling station without their knowledge, which is quite a serious thing. I believe you recall a few days ago, one of the deputy commissioners at the J disclosed at a forum in Tamale that they had called to suspend one of their officers, district officers, because for engaging in such practice, transferring about 38 voters using their ID cards when the people themselves were not physically present as they should be. And also, again, they didn't have any knowledge of this. And so it is important that, yes, we support the call. It's quite important that we need more answers from the Electoral Commission.
Right.
You remember, we received, for us, the alternate political parties, we received our copies of the voter provisional registration database on the day the exercise was starting. I think the NDC got theirs a day before, and then we got ours that day. It took so long for the EC to prepare this data for us. I mean, they had kept postponing, though we had been asking previously. So, I mean, we all want a very transparent process. We all want to, we know there's a lot of work the EC has to do, and they're the organization in charge, but at least we need them also to be very upfront and transparent with us.
I mean, Remy, on the issue of the, making that register accessible to you, we had Dr. Bosman Asare here, and I think he made some remarks regarding how they're only dealing with registered parties, and until you've presented or until your candidate has filed, they really weren't sure if you make it or not. And so they were only dealing with those who were actually registered first, and then the others. But what I want to find out
that's what I'm talking about. I mean, but whatever it is, we all got it. We got it on the day. Most of us got on the day the exercise was starting, which was rather a bit late.
Right. So the demands of the NDC, I mean, the face of the issues, the voters transfer and all that's come up, they're asking for an external audit to, thoroughly investigate this provisional voter register to ensure that all the issues there are resolved. And they're saying that this is non-negotiable. Are you backing this call?
Yes, I would support that. Like I said, this is not just their call, but like I said, I mean, other people are indicating across the country that this is something that seems to be going on. And then it's quite a serious thing, because if indeed voters have been transferred out of their polling stations without their knowledge, and it's taking place in several places across the country, then it's a recipe for chaos on election day. Because imagine people who are going to go knowing that this is where I registered, and then they go and then their votes are not there. It's going to create all manner of confusion, and we don't want that. This election is quite critical. There's so much tension already, and so we need a electoral commission to really, be upfront with us and let us know what really the issues are, if there are any, and then how we are all stakeholders. Okay, we want to support them in their work, but we are also wanting to see us as also stakeholders. Let's see what the issues are and let's work together. Because if these allegations are true, then we need to fix them before we go into the election.
In what form should this audit take? I mean, the deputy chair specifically said that the reason for exhibiting the voter register is so that these issues can come up and then they fix it. So, I mean, for whatever it's worth, it's the first step in the right direction that we've identified these issues. And this audit the call for this forensic audit that you're backing, and then there was also the issue of re-exhibition of the voter register after the issues have been resolved. In what form are you hoping or are you demanding that this audit take, this forensic audit?
Well, now that the exhibition has closed, the AC will now have to compile the final register for us, and so the very first step is at least we know they are going to take on board all the complaints that came up and then work on them. So let's see how as quickly as possible we urge the AC to make this available as quickly as possible, so that political parties will have enough time to again go through them, and then if there are any issues, we can engage them again and work together to have them resolved ahead of the election. That should at least be the first step. Let's have the final register compiled, and let's see if the corrections, if the mistakes that have been identified have been worked on, and then we can take that from there.
I mean, I don't know if we've had this conversation, but how are you preparing towards December 7 for the PPP? And how confident are you in the Electoral Commission to deliver free, fair, and credible elections in coming December elections?
So, like I said yesterday, we were at the EC offices. We've selected our date to file our nomination for presidential candidate. We're just finalizing that aspect, and then we're going to. Hopefully by next week we should have our press conference to launch our candidates. And then campaign has already started anyway. So we are very sure that if the issues that have been identified, like I said, we are all willing stakeholders in this exercise. If the EC listens to us and resolve the issues that have been identified, we are very sure that we should have a free, fair election. But if these issues are not dealt with in a timeous manner, and then we go into this election and information doesn't come on time for us to be satisfied with the process, then unfortunately, we will not be able to have much confidence in the election.
Thank you, Remy Edmondson. That's the General Secretary of the PPP. Thank you. Let me now speak to the co-convener for the Alliance for Movements for Change. That is Dr. Abu Sakara Foster. Thank you so much for joining us. So the issues, you were here, we had that conversation about the issues that have come up from the exhibition of the voter register. Now the NDC are making some demands too, specifically for a forensic audit into the provisional voter register and a re-exhibition of the register when the issues that were raised are resolved. First, are you backing this call?
Well, I think the first thing is that we have to know why those demands are being made and if the substantive issues are still relevant and are relevant to all of us. I think that the satisfactory resolution of the substantive issues raised vis-a-vis the transfer of names, the supposed use of the BDVs even in neighboring countries to register people with similar names as in their north, and also, the assignation of certain names to a special file for which will be essentially missing people or dead people. Those are substantive issues that we must address. It's not a matter of whether NDC is asking about it or PPP is asking about it. Are those is that the level at which we want our Electoral Commission to operate at this stage? So we must raise the stakes. Now, in some of these issues, as I mentioned the other day, where matters of infractions involving electoral commissioners themselves are involved, you cannot then ask the EC itself to conduct an internal audit. It has to be done by a third party that is seen to be neutral, because all of these issues that are coming up, are issues of a perception of bias. Now, if we want to remove that perception of bias altogether and ensure that it does not lead to anything untoward during the election process, we must take advantage now and do it so that we go to the field with everybody being satisfied that the electoral register is totally free of any loaded bias against one party or for one party. So that is what we are trying to achieve. And I think that it doesn't help it if we make it partisan issues. It should be us as a nation. Right. At what level do we want our EC to operate at, of transparency, of perceived fairness? And if necessary, because the internal independent institutions are compromised, we can bring in an external institution just for this time. Are you
saying, Doc, that you believe the EC is compromised?
No, what I'm saying basically is that the mechanism of staffing the CC and appointing the EC is one in which the executive has overwhelming advantage. And that leads to perception that they're not independent referees or are not operating at the level of independence that they should be operating. Now, we have constitutional mechanisms of correcting this, but that will be after the election. In the interim, we can put in some procedural measures where we invite independent auditors to come and audit the electoral register with specific reference to all these instances that have been cited and any wells that they may discover. And then we are all satisfied and we go to the election. I think this is basically something that is an investment for the peace of Ghana and for all of us, and also to enhance the credibility in our EC. Supposing that we have this external audit and they don't find anything significant, it only goes to enhance the credibility of the EC. Right. Supposing we do find significant issues, but they are not perceived to be issues of deliberate malfeasance, it also goes to enhance their credibility. So we are trying to enhance the credibility of our institution and its performance to satisfy all the stakeholders. And it shouldn't be seen as a call against the EC or a call by this particular person. We are all stakeholders and we are all going to participate in this election. And we do not want, in the midst of the election, to have incidences that may spark, an occasion which we will all regret. So let's get rid of that now.
If that forensic audit is conducted independently of the Electoral Commission and all the other parties that may influence it, then that would be satisfactory for the Alliance for Revolutionary Change.
I think that would be in order. Okay. Because the consequences otherwise and the potential for incidences that could derail our election process and even lead to other incidences that we don't want are too high a price to pay compared to the cost of having this independent audit.
Right. You mentioned that you were yet to pick up your register the last time you were here. Have you got a copy now?
I think they have confirmed to me that they have a copy. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Abu Sakara, and he's co-convener for the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. Thank you for joining us for breakfast.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Right. So it appears not just the political parties, but citizens are also asking that the EC conduct this audit. And I know they are set to meet some of the political parties, I think specifically the NDC, on the 6th of September. So we'll bring you details and updates on how that goes in the build-up to election 2024. There's still a lot coming your way. Don't go away. In a spirit of fairness, still on the subject matter, you know, we heard from the NPP and the NDC. This morning, we just heard from the PPP and the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. We also want to quickly pick the thoughts of the CPP. We have on phone this morning Kwame Nkrumah, that's the General Secretary of the Independence Commission of the CPP. And we want to hear from them as well because this concerns all of us. So thank you so much, Mr. Bosio, for joining us for this brief conversation. Mr. Bosio, are you with us?
Yes, good morning.
Great, good morning.
Sorry, the line is a bit faint.
Don't worry, we'll make do with what we have. So I just want to find out from you how the issue of the exhibition or the issues that came up from the exhibition of the Provisional Voters Register sits with you, and if you are also adding your voice to the call for a forensic audit, an independent forensic audit, and a re-exhibition of the Voters Register.
I will start by saying that we have full confidence in the EC so far. And we know that some concerns have been raised. We don't feel there's malice intended by the EC. All the same, we cannot, as a CPP, impose our confidence in the EC on the NDC. Therefore, if the NDC is calling for an audit of the voters register as what will put their hearts and minds at peace, we find no problem with it, and we believe for the sake of peace, for the sake of a peaceful election, it's fine. But the CPP so far, we feel that we are okay. Matters can be resolved without this external independent audit. But once again, for the sake of the NDC, we think it should be allowed.
Right. Are you saying that you understand, like Dr. Bosman Asare said, that this was an honest mistake and does not need any, it's not really a big issue that the NDC should be calling for an external forensic audit for, because you have confidence in the EC's ability to deliver credible, free and fair elections? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. We still maintain our confidence in the EC. We believe it's an honest mistake, but then it is also we wouldn't want to belittle the issue in any way. That is why I said at the beginning, I don't think any malice was intended. These things happen, and we feel that indeed it was an honest mistake. But as much as it was a mistake and no malice was intended, still the NDC should be heard on their concerns. If that is what will also make them have the confidence that the CPP has in the EC.
Do you have a copy of the Provisional Voters Register?
Yes, please, we do.
Did you find any issues, any discrepancies, any reports of voter transfer anywhere? Did you get any? Did you, pick up on any issues of that sort?
Yes, we picked up on a few. And our IPAC members are addressing it with the EC. But we see these as genuine mistakes and not anything that the EC may be trying to do in order to rig the elections for one party or the other.
Kwame Nkrumah, thank you. That's the Secretary of the Independence Committee of the CPP. Thank you for... But before you go, when are you going to give us your manifesto? When are you launching or releasing your manifesto?
As soon as we are done with our flag bearership elections, we are actually having our flag bearer elections this morning.
Okay.
So, I'm sure by close of day today, you will know who CPP flag bearer is, and immediately after that, we will set the date for our manifesto launch.
Who are those standing for to be elected?
We have Nana Frimpoma Sapon Kumakuma and Yao Anoche Frimpong.
All right. I wish you the very best, and we're looking forward to that manifesto when you are done with your elections.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you. You too. So that's the Kwame Nkrumah, the Secretary of the Independence Committee of the CPP, and they say they really have no concerns, and they think it was an honest mistake that those voters were transferred without their knowledge, and that, but the NDC should be heard on their concerns, but they are okay, they're confident in the EC. In a bit, we'll bring you that conversation that we told you about with the Dr. Prince Hamid Armah, that significant figure in Ghana's political landscape. We'll bring you that conversation in a bit. Stay with us. Yep, let's have an exclusive conversation this morning with the former Director General of the National Council for Curriculum Assessment, that is NACA, also the Chairman of the NPP Manifesto Committee on Education, a Member of Parliament for the Efia-Kwesi-Mintim constituency, and now the Deputy Minister for Works and Housing. I'm speaking of none other than Dr. Prince Hamid Armah. He joins us to talk about a myriad issues in the country. Good morning, Doc. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you very much, and good morning to your cherished viewers.
Right.
Just a quick one. The constituency used to be Efia-Kwesi-Mintim, now divided into Efia and Kwesi-Mintim.
So you are Kwesi-Mintim, not Efia-Kwesi-Mintim. Exactly. Thank you for that correction. And you have a rich background in education, and you held various positions. I'm talking about the NACA position, and then the chair on the Education Committee on the Manifesto. Let me start by asking you to give us an assessment of the education sector as we speak. I mean, when you listen to critics, not critics, people who are just interested in that sector, they tell you that maybe the strength is the expansion of access, and that new curriculum that was introduced, focusing on critical thinking and all that. What would be your assessment, both challenges and strengths and weaknesses of the current education sector?
Well, I think that under the leadership of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we have done extensively well in all the metrics used in measuring education outcomes. If you take access, which is a very important metric in ensuring that young people benefit from the privileges that education affords. At every level of the education ladder, we've expanded access, increased the numbers of enrollment. And I know that the famous will be free senior high school. And as you know, before we came to office, the total number of secondary school our students in the secondary school was around 800,000. As we speak now, because of the advent of free SHS, which has removed several barriers, not only the cost barrier, but also the policy imperative of the BECE, which was previously used as the selection process to go into secondary school, and which was focused on the total aggregate that a person gets. Yeah. You must get a minimum of 36 before you get access, and even the 36, the schools were not available, and that those who did far better than the aggregate 36 are the ones who had secondary school education. Now, we've removed that barrier, and if anybody gets even aggregate 52, 53, they will still get a secondary school to attend. That has consequentially, improved the access from the 800,000 we came to meet to the 1.4 million students currently. You find the same access.
Is that your biggest, is that your proudest achievement with the education sector, that you've expanded access from 800,000 to 1.4 million?
Yes, because the secondary school is a transition to improving a young person's life chances. It's a transition to tertiary education. It's a transition to the world of work and transition to skills development. We have conceptualized secondary education as a minimum foundation or foundational education that every Ghanaian child must have. And before we came to office, the transition from junior secondary school to senior secondary school was really, really low. You had not more than 60% of our young people finishing junior secondary school, not able to have access to senior secondary school.
Okay.
And each year you had almost more than 100,000 young people who finish BEC, finish secondary school, write BEC, and unable to go to secondary school. If you take back 10 years back, then you're going to have about 1 million children in a generation who never had the opportunity to go to secondary school, you know, for the various reasons I've given you. The financial barriers removed, the policy imperative, and all those things all removed. So yes, it's a very huge achievement. It has shown impact on the tertiary education enrollment as well. When we came, we were just around 430,000 enrollments at the tertiary level. As we speak now, it's around 700,000, so almost doubling, you know. And the impact that this will have on the economy is enormous. When you have the human resource capacity of your country, you know, improved, you would appreciate its impact on the various sectors of the economy. Right. The teachers we have, the lawyers we have, you know, journalists like yourself, and the rest. So it is an important milestone that we have achieved. And because it benefits and affects almost everybody in society, we are proud to say that the free SHS has really helped many parents. But that's just about the access. Okay. And you can go into the quality. We have improved quality by addressing the content and structure that the young people were experiencing. When you get access, the second issue will be what learning experience will the child or the student have in the school. That learning experience is encrypted in the curriculum framework that you use. We have reviewed the curriculum. We moved from the objective.
That was quite recent, was it not?
Yes, I mean, we started the review in 2017. I was actually part of the team that made a very strong case for moving or gravitating towards standard-based curriculum when the ministry intended to review the curriculum. Right. And then, so we reviewed the curriculum from KG up to junior secondary school, and then in the process of finalizing the senior secondary school as well. We have provided instructional resources. Chalk that used to be an instructional resource that eluded the schools, eluded the teachers. That there are reports that Eastern region there are no chalks. That there's a report, if you could remember, a report from Kukurintumi where headmistress requested for a chalk from a certain second lady, and she says, we will not give you chalk today, we will not give you chalk tomorrow. Today, chalk is available in our schools. And we have even transitioned from providing chalkboards. We are now providing what we call whiteboards. So if you go to all the schools that we are constructing now, all of them are whiteboards. So that's on the quality textbooks and the other instructional resources
But in terms of quality, where do the teachers come in? I mean, there are reports of, in terms of teacher welfare, many of these educators have expressed dissatisfaction over delays in salary payments, limited professional development opportunities. We've seen series of industrial action from teachers this year alone, about 3 or 4 times alone this year, that teachers are expressing dissatisfaction with their terms of their living, the way, you know, the terms of working conditions and all that. Is that not a pivotal part of the quality of education that you intend to provide to the students that are under this free senior high school program?
Yeah, it is. Teacher quality is extremely important in driving educational improvement and in driving improving learning outcomes. So it is. And that's why this government has been very focused, you know, in addressing teacher quality issues.
How have you done that?
I have been a teacher throughout my life.
Have you?
I mean, this will be my 23rd year in the education sector. Okay. My first experience in the classroom was in 2001. And I've taught from primary school, secondary school, to the university. And so I am a teacher. I've been a member of NAGRAT. I've been a member of UTAG. So I appreciate the concerns of teachers. And I will not be the the person to come and sit here and pretend as if everything is well.
So what's the challenge?
What we have done when we came to office, first, improving teacher quality means that updating the quality of teachers in this, the quality of training of teachers so that they can deliver.
Right.
So that's the first leg of it. So what we did was to upgrade the teacher education curriculum and then ensure that they transition from diploma awarding institution into a degree awarding institution, and so that the teachers will graduate with a degree as the minimum. And so as we speak now, in Ghana, unlike other countries, even around the sub-region, the minimum qualification for entering into the teaching profession is a degree. That's an important step in improving the quality. The second thing we have done is what we call the teacher, our teacher policy, comprehensive teacher policy. We realized that if we want to improve the professional competencies of the teachers, then we have to provide an enabler for them to undergo professional development as part of the teacher licensing and teacher professionalization regime. So what we did was to introduce a professional development allowance for all teachers, especially at the basic school and the secondary school. 1,200 for every teacher for professional development. I understand that there's been negotiation and this figure has been adjusted upwards. For non-teachers, we're receiving 800 cedis per year for professional development. That's part of our improving the welfare of the teachers.
Right.
The second thing is the laptops that we provided for teachers, more than 300,000 laptops for teachers. When it comes to teacher salary,
the laptop, let's stay on the laptops for a bit. Some of the teachers also said that the promise was to give every teacher a laptop, and then it wasn't completely fulfilled. Next thing we saw was the sharing of tablets to students. And these teachers were dissatisfied. And we all saw the reports all over that it looks as if you're just engaged in showmanship, that you're seen to be distributing laptops to teachers when in fact the teachers are not receiving these laptops.
That's completely inaccurate. I want you to call the national president of NAGRAT or any of the teacher unions, and they would confirm what I'm going to tell you.
That every teacher...
We have provided... See, what government did was that we're going to fund the provision of laptop by subsidizing. The government was going to take 70% of it, and teachers were going to pay 30% of it from their professional development allowance. Okay? We provided the laptops in phases. And as I speak to you now, more than 300,000 laptops have been distributed. But don't forget that there are some teachers that may, when they applied, were in one school or one district or one region, and they have moved from the others. My checks with the teacher unions was that there are few people who, or teachers who, because of moving from one place or the other, the data was not accurate to capture them and to be able to give them the laptops. But generally, the schools, the teachers who took part in the process of acquisition of the laptop and who have their data captured have received. Every secondary school teacher has received.
We have about 400,000 teacher population, right? Thereabouts. This includes TVETs and the rest.
Yes.
And you're saying you've distributed laptops to 300,000?
But at the time that the teacher population is not stagnant.
Yes,
they keep increasing.
Yes,
so there has to be a reference point.
Okay.
So at the time that this policy intervention was introduced, the figures and the data available is what was provided. Don't forget that even when we started, these new teachers have emerged.
True.
Okay, so but they were not captured. So there are phases. We have dealt with the first 300,000 teachers. This year, we have recruited teachers from the College of Education. They have not received it, so they will complain. Is that not the case? So we will go to the next phase which is to ensure that.
So it's not like a
but
completed project.
Exactly,
it's
ongoing because you're going to recruit more teachers. GS has advertised the recruitment of teachers from the who are graduates. So yes, because we have that policy intervention to provide that support structure for teachers, we're going to continue with that. But those that we started with, I can tell you on authority, when I leave here, you can fact check, call the teacher unions, and they will confirm that largely, significant numbers of them number of teachers have received their laptops. And then you bring in the idea of laptops for students. 1.3 million laptops. The first phase is to provide 900,000. And these are all part of the improving the teacher quality.
Also part of the digitization agenda.
Exactly, improving the quality of teaching and learning. And then also improving the modern way, transition towards the modern approach to teaching and learning. So at every sector or subsector or benchmark or metric of the education sectors, you have even espoused some of our policy initiatives. We have done a certain work. Okay. But not only the access quality, let me just add a third indicator, which is the equity.
Okay.
You see, people come from different backgrounds, and somebody's location must not determine their destiny. The fact that you are from an underserved community, deprived community, must not deny you access to secondary education, must not deny you access to good quality basic education, and so tertiary education as well.
Okay.
What we have done through our policy intervention is to ensure that everybody, regardless of where they come from, have access to education, including secondary education. And that's why you now find people in the very deprived villages now having their children attending secondary schools like Prempeh, Infantepim, Wesley Girls, which were previously at the preserve of the people, those from a privileged background. So that's one major feature of our policy intervention, to ensure that we don't create two types of Ghanaians. Those that are from affluent background. In fact, the data before by the Ghana Living Standards Survey 6 clearly suggested that those from affluent background, when they start KG, they complete. The chances of them completing is almost 100%. And from those from deprived areas, underserved communities, and poor background, start from KG, and then by primary they start dropping out from primary, junior, secondary. At every level they keep dropping, and by the time we get to tertiary level, just around 5-6% are able to go there. This is what we want to. We have been working hard to address, because if we say that education is an instrument to bridge the poverty and rich gap, that the young person from the very deprived area must also have equal opportunity, like just as the person from a privileged background. And that's what we have been trying to do.
What's new then? You've done, this is, by the end of this year, you'd have completed 8 years in office. You're hoping that Ghanaians would keep you in office to continue doing some more work, like you say you're doing. So what's new in your manifesto? What are the education policies? What is the highlight of it? I mean, we've seen the manifesto. What is the highlight of it? And you can also share some unique perspective that you brought to the manifesto as the chair of the Education Committee, and how these policies and promises are actually meeting the demands of this current era of our students in terms of education in particular.
The world is evolving. The knowledge that a person acquires or acquired 10 years ago may no longer be adequate for the person to function efficiently in society now. It is that reason that we have moved our minimum standard from junior secondary school to senior secondary school. And I'll come back to that again. Because the evidence suggested that somebody who finished junior secondary school, could not, the knowledge that they have will not be adequate for that person to function in society. In today's society, the world is changing. And that's the reason why those who there were instances where people completed junior secondary school and then used their certificates to get employment in the military, in the police service, and the rest. Today, they are not accepting that. That in itself will tell you that knowledge acquisition evolves. So what we seek to do is to look at the current foundation that we've built, and to build on it, ensure that we provide or produce young people who can function effectively in society by at least finishing secondary school. And when they do finish secondary school, either they have opportunity to go to tertiary education or they fall out and go into the world of work. But they are prepared to go into a world of work. But to be able to do that, we want to strengthen our KG, the foundation, the KG programs, improve KG provision, infrastructure, in terms of quality, in terms of modern digital tools to enable the children to learn and compete with their counterparts in other countries that they would be competing with 10, 20 years to come in the labor market. And then I guess...
Yeah, I just wanted us to wrap up on education and move on to other areas. But then I also want to talk about the new curriculum that was introduced by NACA. And there are some reported challenges of implementation in terms of teacher preparedness to handle these new programs in the curriculum that you've introduced. How are you actually planning to fix the gap between the preparedness of the teachers to implement this new curriculum and the intention that you hope, the goals that you hope to achieve with it?
I am not getting what you mean by teacher preparedness.
Okay,
because
so you are asking, some of the new programs is like critical thinking. Did
Yes,
our teachers, current teachers we have they undergone any sort of training to prepare them to adequately deliver on these new programs that you've introduced in the curriculum?
So what we did was that concurrently, whilst we were reviewing the primary school curriculum, we're also reviewing the teacher education curriculum concurrently, so that there is alignment with what they are studying and what the children are going to, what they are studying and what they are going to teach and what the children are going to experience. So all in-service teachers curriculum now, in the last 6 years, are consistent, and what they experience are consistent with the new curriculum. That's the pre-service teachers.
Okay.
The in-service teachers are those who are currently, who were in the system before the introduction of the curriculum. Okay. The first thing we did was to undertake a comprehensive training program for the teachers across the country, 152,000 teachers at the time. I led the process with the Ghana Education Service.
Half of the teacher population.
At the time, the teacher population for KG up to primary school, was around that figure. So we did the training for
6
them
years
across.
Ago, you said.
Yes, across the country. We did that training and ensure that they are up to date with the expectations of the new curriculum. But you must also remember that the knowledge that the teacher has or acquires any time is not adequate to take the teacher through his or her full continuum of the professional career. So you need professional development.
Yeah.
And that is where the licensure regime requires professional updates and getting credit points, for professional development. And so we know that there are several ongoing professional developments that is enabling the implementation of the curriculum.
Okay.
What we just to add, that for any policy development, policy implementation, there's something we call the rhetoric and reality gap. That the policy makes some expectations. The policy espouses some ideas. But when it gets to the implementation, sometimes there's a gap between what the policy says and what is happening. What is important is for the program implementer to bridge that gap so that as far as possible, the expectation of the policy, which is the curriculum, is reflected on the ground. And to be able to do that, we have a program called Fidelity of Implementation. It's a specific implementation tool that is done to ensure that as much as possible, the implementers implement the expectation of the curriculum in a very strict manner with fidelity. We have done that over the years to try and ensure that the curriculum is being implemented in the manner espoused. The challenge is that we still have more instructional resources we still have to provide more instructional resources. And that's one of the areas that our vice president and our vice president and our presidential candidate is very keen in ensuring that in the next administration, what the implementation setbacks that we face, the implementation challenges that we face, which is very normal in any policy implementation, we address that.
Okay. Let's talk about the Saglemi Housing Project. You are Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, and this project has been a topic of significant public interest. Recently, we saw that the President has approved a new deal, and I think the majority of citizens are concerned that would it still be affordable by the end of this private partnership, and then if they, are able to complete the project. First, what is the financing agreement? What does it look like? And how are you ensuring that it is still affordable to citizens who this project was intended for?
I think you know the history behind this agreement.
Yes, it was abandoned for a while.
$200 million loan was pumped into it for supposedly 5,000 units of houses. We ended up getting 1,506 units of housing. And even that number of units that we have were not complete. The horizontal infrastructure not complete, waste management system not available, no electricity, no water, so it's absolutely uninhabitable. What the ministry, under the leadership of Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, my boss, sought to do was to get international partners, because the estimate that was brought by the Ghana Institute of Surveyors suggested that we needed more than just $100 million to be able to complete the project. The government didn't have the resources to do that. And so the international competitive bidding process was activated, and we got a number of bidders to come in.
I'm sorry, we needed more than $100 million.
Yes, to complete.
For what? I thought the project was completed. Or
not
just
completed, not at all.
Wiring and water supply. And
they're not completed at all.
It was not complete.
Not at all. I mean, the story is out there. The report is there. You can just Google. We needed an additional $100 million plus.
For what?
To complete, to finish the horizontal infrastructure, to complete the fittings, and then make it habitable. And this was the report from the Ghana Institute of Surveyors. And it was that report that gave the government the policy position to offload the housing, that particular project, to a third party to invest. Because we didn't have that money to pump into the project. In fact, if we continued along that path, we're going to end up spending over almost $400 million on the project with interest. And,
right.
And so that's the reason. Fast forward, we've issued requests for proposal for international. Yes, we've got some bids. We have evaluated. There's a transaction advisor leading the process. I think 3 companies or consortium have been shortlisted. The arrangement is that government is going to have that infrastructure as our equity investment, and then the third party or the private sector will complete the project, and the cost will also constitute their equity investment, and that will be brought together into a joint venture framework, and then the housing units can then be let out, and government will have, so that at the end of the day we're able to maintain the monies that we expended, and then also achieve the original purpose of the housing unit, which is to let out to Ghanaians for
What timelines are you working with?
I think by September this month, we're supposed to conclude on the financing arrangement, and then we'll move to the. But we plan that before the year ends, we would have concluded signed contracts for the third party or the JV to.
So by end of this month, you conclude on financing arrangements.
Yeah, I think, yes. So per the timelines, by the end of the year, let me be very specific. By the end of the year, we would have concluded signing or contracting. That's what I can say.
This financing agreement, how does it ensure, or how does it capture the concerns of citizens that at the end of this project completion, it would still be affordable to the citizens, because when private investors come in, they're coming with the intention of making profit. So, and really, the devil is in the details. So what does this financing agreement look like, and how are you ensuring that we as citizens, our interests are protected in this housing project?
So that's where the negotiation will take place. So now we are the negotiation.
Give us a...
We cannot, I cannot give you details of what we are going to negotiate in public.
Is it 50% state, 50% private investment? I mean,
but that will depend on the cost. So if we do valuation of the cost of the project now,
before you can tell.
And then we do valuation of how, we do the costing of how much we need to be able to complete. It will give you an indication of what shares would government have in terms of using the infrastructure as equity investment, the same as the private sector.
But can you assure citizens that government has their interest at heart?
Obviously, that's the reason why government is committed to completing this project.
Okay. Still on works and housing, I'm sure you follow the stories that we are unable to supply water because of galamsey activities. And I understand that, or I know that houses should have potable water. So this, in a way, also falls under your purview. Are you concerned that illegal mining activities have reached the point where the Ghana Water Company Limited is saying that they are unable to supply 70, which was already a deficit. Now we are all the way down to 40%. Are you concerned about it? And what are you doing about it? What are your thoughts?
Do you want my views?
I want your views on how galamsey is destroying supply of potable water, clean water to homes in this country.
If I had the power, I would have proposed that people who engage in galamsey are incarcerated. When they are found guilty, are given life imprisonment, the highest penalty one can think of. Because you're talking about environmental sustainability. The water body that when I was growing up, we used to go and fetch water and then drink and bath. That water body has now turned into a gutter, a small gutter in my constituency.
Brown all over the place.
And it's all over the place across the country. And people are just recklessly destroying our water bodies. And the impact is what we are facing. The unfortunate thing is that we're playing politics with it. They're playing politics. The last election, the MPP lost in almost all the galamsey areas because of the fight, opposition against galamsey. When we were campaigning that we needed to ensure that we sanitize the small-scale mining enterprise and make sure that they do it in a very conducive manner, support them to do that, there were other political party officials going to those towns and villages and telling the people that when we come, we'll allow you to do galamsey.
You think that's why you were voted out of power? In the areas that,
yes.
Experience galamsey?
It has significant impact.
The galamseyers prefer to continue doing
to do their job.
Some would argue that it's actually a lack of political will.
I think that
for the leadership to actually
I think
fight.
We have demonstrated significant political will in this fight.
How have you demonstrated that?
We have done so by enforcing the the statutory provisions that we have by setting up specific task force to go after them and the rest. But the connivers and the...
Has it produced results?
We may not have achieved the intended results that we envisaged. But significantly, if we had not stalled it, if we had not put in those measures, the situation would have been worse than we find ourselves in. It would have been worse. So, but I think we have to come to a consensus. Where there's a political will, there's a way. When we come to a consensus that this is a matter of national security, a matter of national concern, and that we have to address this matter apolitically, that's where we can achieve results. But when you are very forceful in enforcing rules, when you are forceful in ensuring that people who are found to culpable in this particular enterprise are dealt with. And then you have your political opponent going around and say that, look, we will deal with, we will allow you to continue what you're doing.
Okay.
It makes it a bit difficult for you to move forward.
So
I think that we have to come to a consensus.
Final bit on this. Be that as it may, that these galamseyers want to continue doing what they do, for which reason they voted you out of power. It is still your government it is still your party in government as we speak. And when reporters go out and report on galamsey activities, the reports we get back is that these galamseyers are emboldened because they have political actors backing them, or these same politicians are the ones funding these galamsey activities. How do you respond to that? I'm just picking your thoughts on these, because you are also in power. You're a man in politics, and it says your
I have made my point very, very clear. Yeah. I have indicated my revulsion to that enterprise. I think I will end it here. But I thought that we could go into the vision of the flag bearer.
We will in a bit.
Yes,
in a bit. So let me pivot to the Garrett project now. It still falls under your ministry. What are the expected outcomes of this Garrett project? I mean, for residents here in Accra, and how are you ensuring that these outcomes are achieved within the projected timelines?
Yeah, so I mean, the purpose of Garrett is to try and address our flooding situation in Greater Accra in particular, following the June 3rd, 2015 disaster.
June 4th.
This is June
4th or 3rd, yeah.
June 3rd. There's some June somewhere. the June 2015 disaster. I think June 3rd.
It's the June 3rd disaster.
And what we seek to do is to improve our flood resilience and reduce our flood risk by looking at one of the major drainage tributaries that we have, drainage basin, which is the Odor Basin. At the moment, all the deliverables are on target, and we hope that by the period that we have set, we'll be able to reduce the flooding situation. In fact, because of the project, even though we haven't completed, but the
I remember hearing Kojo Ponkuma say we haven't even reached 10%
of it, but
the work
at
that
least
need to be done.
This year's flooding situation was not as pervasive as one could imagine previously. The impact will be very, very, very well felt when the project is completed.
So let's talk about what you've been waiting to talk about, the strategy of the New Patriotic Party. And you are a key contributor to the 2024 manifesto. How do you see the party's vision shaping Ghana's future in the light that you've been in power for 8 years? By the end of this year, it would have been 8 years. And you say that to lead is to solve. So for me, I'm curious to know what gaps, what problems do you see that you want us to give you another term, which the former to-do mode hasn't solved, that you want to come and solve now?
So we've laid the foundation, every leader and his vision. The flag bearer has supported the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to deliver his 8-year mandate. And whilst working with him, he has had the opportunity to even appreciate more the challenges that confront us. And then he has made some other proposals. If you look through the manifesto, one thing that cuts across is job creation for our young people. Obviously, because over the last decade, access to tertiary education has gone up, as I indicated, that particularly between 2018 and 2017 and now, we have almost doubled our tertiary enrollment. That creates unemployment situation. When you expand access to secondary education, that also creates unemployment situation if they are not able to transit into tertiary. And if they even transit into tertiary and they finish, they still will need jobs. So a significant amount of time has been spent, or energy has been spent, on how to innovatively address our unemployment situation through skills development and training and the rest. So that's one thing that we seek to do. The second I see across the manifesto is protection of vulnerable groups. There are 3 categories of vulnerable groups. You have the young people, the children. You have the people with disability, and then you have the aged. These are the 3 categories of vulnerable groups. If you look through the manifesto, you see clearly the vision of protecting these groups. You see a sort of a welfare system being created for the aged. You see a safeguarding system being created for children. And you see inclusive system being created for people with disability. So largely, the manifesto seeks to ensure that everybody in this country, regardless of where they come from, is taken care of. And we hope that the Ghanaian people, for the first time, we will change. We will change with continuity. That for the first time.
So the change you're looking for,
yes,
is for us to, for the first time, keep
yes,
a government,
exactly.
a party
we have
in power
to change from the
for
8
more
years,
than 8 years.
Yes,
That's a change.
Yes, that's a change.
Looking to
we
bring.
change for continuity. We change for continuity. So if change is coming, it is the continuity we are looking for.
I want to put some issues from the manifesto to you, but first I want you to give me an assessment of where we are in terms of how we are doing economically. And also in terms of young people, there's that Afrobarometer report, even the Ghana Statistical report that says that nearly 2 million young people are unemployed, not in any form of training. You've elaborated on how you intend to use education to, prepare young people to get jobs and all that. How do you think economically, where do we stand as a nation? And then we talk about some of the things that
But you notice that we have had challenges post-2020.
Are you alluding to the Russian-Ukraine war and COVID-19?
And people want to discount that anytime you bring that matter, but that's a reality. There's nothing that it's ravaged many economies. There's nothing that anybody can say to dissuade us from not making that point.
I don't think they're saying don't make that point.
Because anytime you bring that point, there's times that people even try to make fun of it, but that's the reality. If you check all the economic indicators that you can think of, the GDP growth, inflation rate, our reserve, almost every indicator, we're doing very, very well until, the unfortunate incident. But obviously, you can appreciate that things are getting better. Inflation rate that previously was around 54%, it's come down to, I think, around 23%. And the growth rate, we've even revised our growth rate to somewhere around 3%. So we are on the path of economic growth. And we believe that the foundation that we've built is enough to enable us to catapult us to the next level that His Excellency, the Vice President and our presidential candidate want to take us. And as I've indicated, resolving the unemployment issue is through education and skills development. And that's why we talk about skills training, skills development, and leveraging technology in this technological age by training 1 million of our young people in digital skills.
You said we are recovering as a nation economically. I mean, be that as it may, Russian-Ukraine war, COVID-19, and all the global issues that have impacted our economy. But as we speak, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam was saying that our public debt is more than 700 billion as we speak. How do you intend to manage this?
Well, so public debt, there's always public debt everywhere. There's public debt in every country.
The sharp increase.
Put it in dollar terms. You see, the best way, I've seen people throwing around numbers like 700 billion, put them in dollar terms, because that's a consistent...
Over 700, and that was the finance minister.
Yes, I'm saying that if you put them in dollar terms, I cannot get the figures, but if you put them in dollar terms and then find percentage change, and that's how we do, if we want to do comparison, the most important instrument is the rate of change. I'm a mathematics person.
Okay.
And when you do the rate of change, that will give you the benchmark to compare. If you do that And unfortunately, I didn't know I was going to talk about it. But if I did, I knew I would have brought those figures. If you do that,
well, your
you
manifesto
will see,
talks about
you will
how
see,
you intend to stabilize.
If you do that analysis, you will see that in terms of our debt, percentage of change in debt, we have done even better than what our previous, the previous administration, the NDC, did.
The reason I asked this,
but largely, debt is inevitable because when your revenue, governments finance its projects and pay salaries through revenue. And if your revenue is not adequate, if just around 11% of Ghanaians are paying what they're supposed to pay, then obviously you're not going to get enough revenue. And if you don't have enough revenue, then you have to find a way of financing. And if you want to finance, you finance through debt, through treasury bills, through bonds. So unless, and that's why His Excellency, the Vice President, is very keen in digitalization, streamline our tax collection system, ensure that the tax collection process is very convenient, the tax collection process is easy and it's accessible. When you do that, people are able to comply. That's why he talks about the flat rate, to be able to increase compliance. When you increase compliance, you are likely to generate more revenue. And when you generate more revenue, you are able to finance part of your debt and finance your projects and the infrastructure that you want to pursue. So we have clearly articulated this in the manifesto.
I want to go to Kwesi Mintim in a bit, but please explain to me how your manifesto intends to mitigate or not exacerbate the debt situation of the country as we speak. Because under this administration, we've seen the highest rise in public debt. How do you intend to keep, and if not to reduce it, keep us where we are so that we are not, keep borrowing and keep putting the country into debt? How does the manifesto intend to fix that?
It's very clear. The manifesto is very clear, indicates that we are going to cut our expenditure by 3%.
How?
3% of GDP.
How?
We are going to cut the expenditure by 30 billion Ghana cedi. It's clear, it's already in the manifesto.
I'm asking how you are going to achieve that 30% cut.
Because we have costed the entire manifesto. We are going to reduce the size of government. The president has said, I'm already calling him the president. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the vice president, inshallah, the president, may it come to pass. He's already said that he's going to have 50 ministers. So you are downsizing government. You are going to make efficiency savings.
So that's some expenditure cuts over there.
Yes, and also through efficiency savings.
So elections are coming up in December. Do you think you've done enough in Kwesi Mintim to keep you there for another 4 years? And if so, what have you done there?
I believe that I have done enough, but I don't think that I'm done. If I am done, I will not seek for re-election. I went to the constituency with a very clear mindset to bring development to my people. When I say I went to, it was because I decided to do the constituency politics because of my background. That's where I was born. That's where I grew up. That's where I schooled. From primary school
so you're
up
a
to...
son of the people.
So I am a homeboy, born, bred from Kwesi Mintim. I breathe Kwesi Mintim. I drink Kwesi Mintim. And growing up as a young man, the experiences I had has informed and shaped my thinking about how to develop the constituency. I put 4 pillars as the key drivers to changing the fortunes of the constituency. The first is on education and skills training. The second is entrepreneurship and job creation. The third is social infrastructure. And the fourth is leadership and governance.
Those are your priorities.
Exactly. Along these pathways, I have specific policy interventions that I personally initiated or lobbied to be implemented. As I speak to you now, I have constructed around 8 schools within this period in terms of education from KG up to junior secondary school, improving access, because in some instances, 80 students are in one classroom, 120 students in one classroom. And so to be able to improve access and reduce the number of students in the classroom and reduce the teacher-people ratio, I am leading the charge in in constructing and producing more classrooms to enable access, for students to learn in a very conducive environment. Beyond that, scholarship programs that I have supported our young people, not less than 200, over 200. Some are abroad, some are working, and they are able to support their family, help people to get training in vocational skills. I've trained no less than 2,000 youths. I recently graduated about 620 young people. Many of them were women.
When you say you, it means you funded or you paid for the
Yes, I
education
funded.
From your own pocket?
Yes, I funded it through. I have a foundation that leads that charge. So I've bought a tripod. The foundation, the office of the MP, I actually have an office for the Member of Parliament in the constituency. So the foundation, the office of the MP, and the district assembly. So that's the tripod. Working with the assembly, working with the foundation, and then also from the office to be able to deliver that. So you will see a lot of our young people have gotten formal employment, apart from the skills development, no less than 100 of them in the last 3 years, 100 of them. And I've published a book on all what we have done, and they are in the constituency.
And these inspire your confidence that they would give you the mandate again?
I won the last election with 65%, and my target then was 70%, but I got 65, no problem. I wish to increase the vote. That's what I'm working towards.
I'll give you 30 more seconds to give me a wrap of your thoughts.
Well, I think that the NPP government, not that I think, but I know that the NPP government has done exceedingly well on every measure of the country sector. The NPP has outperformed its main competitor, and that the Ghanaian people should have confidence in us. For the first time, let us depart from this 8 years cycle. It doesn't bring sustainable development. It doesn't bring, it doesn't support continuous development. We need sustainable development. We need continuity to ensure that the project that started by this government under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo continues. If you look at the NDC manifesto, they've got a different perspective altogether, that if we don't continue, they are going to forestall, abolish, scrap, and then reset a lot of our policy interventions.
That there is Dr. Prince Hamid Armah. Thank you so much for joining us for this all-encapsulating conversation, and I wish you the very best in the upcoming elections for the people of Pesimintin.
I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Right. And right before we go, a gentle reminder that Joy News and an amalgam of professional bodies is organizing a public speaking event on the theme Transformed Individuals Transforming the World, a challenge for the religious community in Ghana. The speakers, Dr. Philip Engman, Dr. Mrs. Yvonne Yirinchura Eseku, Ambassador Sanda Ahmed, and the main speaker for the day is Reverend Dr. Joseph Kofi Entry. The moderator is Philip Osubunsu. You know him. He's the host of Ekosi Seng on Asempa FM. This is happening on the 17th of September 2024 and will start at 6:30 p.m. sharp at the British Council Hall. For more information, please contact 0244 220 427. And this event is powered by Joy News and Joy FM. And also, we have that Habitat Fair coming up, and let's go off the overpriced land, home ownership, and furnishing deals. Get the latest and best deals for all your housing needs at one place. Visit the EcoBank Joy News Mini Fair at the Good Park near Accra Mall from the 13th to the 15th of September 2024. And the fair is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, and it is absolutely free. So be there to engage with various stakeholders in the housing value chain for your home ownership needs. EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Get a house, make it a home. And the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and powered by the Planned City Extension Project, from cities and habitat, rent to own, and sponsored by Elegant Homes, where quality meets value, safety, and home solutions. You think of a door? We have it. There's still a lot coming your way on the AM show. Don't go away. I'll be right back. now let's talk about the Habitat Fair. Global Lighting Center, one of the sponsors of the Joy News EcoBank Habitat Fair, promises to offer patrons mouth-watering discounts and goodies at the upcoming Habitat Fair. Free consultation, discounted lighting items, and goodies are some of the things to expect when you visit the stand of Global Lighting Center at this year's EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. And the indigenous lighting company, which has been in existence for about 20 years, promises patrons quality but affordable indoor and outdoor lighting, as well as all lighting accessories. Joy Business caught up with Nicholas Sowate, a sales executive at Global Lighting Center, and reports.
20 years, indigenous lighting company Global Lighting Center has been providing a full range of bespoke interior and exterior lights for homes, offices, gardens, and more. Their offerings include chandeliers, ceiling lights, wall lights, floor lamps, spotlights, track lighting, and what have you. They also have in stock other electrical appliances such as ceiling fans. We caught up with Nicholas Sowate, a sales executive, ahead of the Joy News EcoBank Habitat Fair.
Global Lighting Center, if I may start, just like the name suggests, Global Lighting Center is a lighting company that has been in the lighting industry for over 20 years. And what has kept us very relevant is our quality that we bring into the market. And what we do is we deal in interior, exterior lighting, and we also have the electrical parts that we also do as in Global Lighting Center. So what we do is in the first fix, we have the first fix product like the PVC pipe, the conduit boxes, the pattress boxes, the distribution board as well, and the 3x3 conduit boxes. Then when you go to the second fix, we have the cables and the wiring for any other accessories that comes with it. Then for the third phase, that is where we come in with the lighting, the switches and sockets, and also the ceiling fan as well. So these are the phases that we master or we deal in.
Let's talk about quality. I see a lot of products here in your showroom, but how good are these products?
Okay, so when we talk of quality, what we do is we have partnered with some lighting companies across Europe and few in Asia. So we make sure that we identify with our products. The product that you see in Global Lighting here, you will not see it in any lighting company across the country. Even because we identify with our product, anytime you buy from us and you take it to any of our branches, you don't even have to show so much proof to know that you bought from Global Lighting. As soon as they see the light, they know this is coming from Global Lighting. And we make sure that the lights that we've partnered with are the best when it comes to lighting in Europe and in Asia as well.
I mean, the bit about quality also brings to fore, affordability. I mean, can I afford Global Lighting Center or products from Global Lighting Center?
Global Lighting is very affordable, very, very affordable. And with the kind of quality that we bring in and the price at which you are getting it, you should know that we are rather doing the masses a big favor because the quality and the prices really, really match. Any amounts that you come to Global Lighting with, you can get lights to buy, you can get something to buy. And we also, even if you are doing the projects and the BOQ or the value of the project is very huge, what we do is we have a payments plan and we have a terms that we deal with our contractors. So what we do is you do part payments, then we spread the rest across a reasonable amount that will benefit both parties. So you see, Global Lighting, like I said, we are very, very affordable.
Okay, now let's look at what you have here in your showroom. I see a wide range of lights here, from some ceiling lights to some wall lights. I mean, what are some of the products you have?
Okay, so when we talk of, let me start with the interior lighting. The interior lighting, we have the spotlights, we have the recess lights. The spotlight, we have it in both recess and surface. Then we also have the chandeliers. We also have the panel lights, which comes in different wattages. It comes in 6 watts, it comes in 12 watts, it comes in 8 watts, and we also have 24 watts. Then we also have the interior or the inside wall lights that is used to decorate the walls within the room. Then when you go to the outside lights, we also have the fluorescent lights. We also have the floodlights. Then we also have, we also have the strip light for inside. Then we also have the garden lights, which some people call it the landscape for the outside light. Then we also have outside wall lights that we use to decorate the building itself. And that comes in two forms. We have the one that gives you the washing on the wall, which throws the up and down lights like you see behind me. Then we also have the one that gives you the general lighting that throws on the building for you. So basically, we have anything that has to do with lighting and ceiling fans as well.
So where can I locate Global Lighting Center?
You can locate Global Lighting Center here in Accra. At the main head office is at Spinkters. We are on the same building with, we are at Victory Junction on the same building with Mini Melcom or Pizza Hut. Then we also have, we just opened the Osu branch. Then we are just opposite the Akai House, directly share the same building with Habitat Essentials. Then we also have one branch at Opera. The Opera, we are directly opposite the Opera Square building, the Opera Square, former Opera Square Cinema. We are directly opposite Accra Central here. We are directly opposite it on the first floor. Then when you go to Kumasi, from the Ahojo roundabout towards Santasi, we are just direct opposite the Palace Mall.
They also have SPN and RON distribution boxes in 6-way, 8-way, and 12-way.
In case I come to Habitat Fair, why should I visit Global Lighting Center stand?
Okay. So for the reason why you need to come to our stand at the Global Lighting Center is, 1, we are giving items at a discounted price. 2, we are giving free consultation. Then 3, we are also giving advices on how to apply your lights. Everything comes for free. And we are also bringing some hand-picked items that you can buy. We are selling some items that you can buy. So you don't need to come all the way to our showroom to maybe pick a spotlight or pick an adapter or an extension board. You can just buy it up front at the Habitat Fair. So that is why you need to visit our stand. Most people who don't sell their products, you need to come to their showroom or their office. But with Global Lighting, you can buy from our stand as well.
Are there any discounts available?
Yeah, we have discounts. Just like every year, we have discount packages that we bring to the Habitat Fair. Even if you don't buy, what we do is we give you a brochure with a signature, or we sign on it, so that even after the Habitat Fair, whenever you go to our showroom with that brochure, which shows that we are at the Habitat Fair, you get to enjoy the discounts that we are giving at the Habitat Fair.
So now you know, for all your electrical and lighting needs, don't forget to visit Global Lighting Center at the Joy News EcoBank Habitat Fair. See you there.
I'm saying hello from the entire AM team, from Gomez and everybody back there. They're saying hello to you, cherished audience. Hello, Ghana. Your favorite radio stations are back on Tune In. Such joy. I'm talking about Joy FM, Love FM, Adom FM, Asempa FM, and Insura FM. All your beloved multimedia group brands are now back on Tune In. Wherever you are, we've got you covered. Yes, Joy FM, Love FM, Adom FM, Asempa FM, and Insura FM are back on Tune In. So tune in to the best of news, music, sports, and entertainment from Ghana's top stations, anytime, anywhere on Tune In. Go to the App Store or the Google Play Store to download Tune In and listen to Joy FM, Love FM, Adom FM, Asempa FM, and Insura FM to stay connected and entertained. This is a very important announcement. The owners of the following companies should contact the General Manager of Sales and Customer Service of the Multimedia Group today, September 4th, 2024, in connection with their credit businesses on the group's platform. The companies are as follows: Slade Industries, Ganaba Investment, Modern Initiative Broadcasting, Gilly Gold Pharmaceuticals, Liberty Industries, Wadis Entertainment, High Links Communication Limited, and Edwin's Consult. Today is the last day, so if you're part of that list, please do well to contact us. And that's our show for this morning. Today I've missed Benjamin Akaku. And that's how we're wrapping up for today on the AM show. My name is Sweetie Abochi, and we're back again on your screens again tomorrow. But Joy News Desk is coming up shortly with Faustina Safo. Goodbye for now. Mwah.